Everyone, Fru here. Welcome to today's lecture. So guys, in today's lecture, we're going to be looking at module 7. And module 7 is going to talk about flow controls in Python. So the exact table of content for the concepts today would be looking at loops, while loops, do while loops, and for loops. We've seen a lot of this within the previous modules, but this will be a quick recap of being able to write and use loops, both while and for loops. And then we're going to go into decision making, which is building on what we had in module 4, where we talked about conditionals. So we're going to look at being able to use decision making within our loops, either for loops or while loops. And so in decision making, we're looking at if statements, else conditions, and elif types of conditions. And then last but not least, we're going to look at exception handling within our loop. So for example, there is a break statement, there is a continue statement, there is a try statement, and then of course there is a pass statement. So guys, this is a very power-packed lecture. I'm very excited for it, and all the code has been written as always. It's going to be available in the description below if you want to follow along with any of the concepts. Guys, check the description and you can get access to my GitHub, and that way you have access to the code. That said, we're going to dive into our working area and start with the very first module, which would be the for loop within Python. So for most of us, this is just a quick recap. So guys, a for loop is a very straightforward thing in Python. As an example, let's just give a quick list in here, which would be my names, and it's just gonna be a collection of all my names. All right, so I'm just gonna quickly fill this out. Let's just add one more name in there, quite a bit of names. All right, so I just have a quick collection, and as for a for loop, we know the syntax for that. We're simply gonna say, for example, name in my names. All right, so for each name that shows up within this list, this collection, let's go ahead and print that name on the screen. Straightforward ABC type of code, and we go ahead and run this. It simply just goes through this and it prints that name on the screen for us, and we can see that. All right, so basic for loop, and that's just a refresher of what we did. So now let's go into the next concept within this module, which is going to be a refresher on while loops. So a while loop, unlike a for loop, is simply just going to do something while a condition is true. So if we say age equals 30, all right, I know a lot of programmers might be younger than 30, but once that age equals 30, we're gonna print all numbers for that. So while age is greater than 30, let's go ahead and print age. Okay, and then what we need to do is gonna subtract 1 from age. All right, so we're gonna subtract 1 from age. Or we can also say age, this is the same as saying age equals age minus 1, all the same. All right, this is the same as saying age equals age minus 1. That's what this is saying. All right, so if we go ahead and run this, but we need a semicolon in there. All right, so this is a very basic while loop. So it's gonna print while age is greater than 30, is greater than 1. Okay, it's going to print it's gonna print that. All right, so it starts from 30 because that's where our age starts from, and then 29, and then all the way to 2. So very straightforward while loops. We've seen that, a little bit different from a for loop, but a loop nonetheless. All right, there are other ways in which we can do while loops instead of those numbers. If we want to do something always true, we can say while true. All right, because a while loop will always work when that boolean or that condition is true. We can ask for name from the user. All right, and the way we ask for name from the user is to say, let's do something like please input your name as an example. All right, let's ask the user to input their name, and then now we can go ahead and take that and run a check, and we say if that name equals to Fru, so I'm gonna check if that's my name. All right, and then let's print hello print that name, and then we're gonna say something like thank you for joining us today. All right, very simple basic Python program, but we need to end that statement, and otherwise we're gonna break out of that loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and run our simple code, and let's actually throw in something here and say print only Fru can be greeted, something like that. All right, I just like to always have my else conditions in there. All right, so let's go ahead, run this. If name equals Fru, of course we need to end that with a semicolon. All right, and it says input your name. Let's say Louis. Is gonna refuse Louis. Only Fru can be greeted. Now you see it's asking for my name again. The code doesn't just end, because even though it says only Fru can be greeted, and it printed that, it keeps going back because true is always there. All right, if I say Nde, it's gonna keep asking. All right, if I say John, is gonna keep asking unless I say Fru and see what happens. All right, now I say Fru, it says hello Fru, thank you for joining us today, and then it hits the break condition and the code ends. All right, so this is another way of using while loops in action. I'm using this to ask for input from a user, and while that's true, it's always going to be true unless I kind of break out of this, and once I break out, this goes into false and that code stops executing. So guys, I hope this kind of gives you another idea of how to use a while condition within your code. If you always want to prompt for a user, input from a user, you can certainly leverage something like this, and then use the break condition to exit that loop. So another very powerful concept. All right, that said, this will take us into the next concept within this module that we're going to look at, and that's the idea of if, else, and elif. Guys, we've seen a whole lot of this if, else, and elif conditions. So let's just go ahead and write a simple refresher for this one. All right, and we're going to check the age of an individual. Let's just say age equals 30, and say if age is equals to 0, of course, right? Since there are people that are 0 years age, if you know anyone like that, tell me. All right, it can be like, hey youngster, how hard is it in there? All right. I hope you get the joke, because by that point, age of 0, that youngster is probably still in the womb, hasn't gone into the real world to start learning how to write code in program. Now if age is greater than 0, of course, then we know that this individual has been born. So we can say something like what can we say funny here? We can be like, yo, how does it feel to be alive? All right, so because this person now is, age greater than 0, they're alive. And then else, we can do something like print. All right, so if age is not greater than 0, we're doing a check here for age. So age equals 0, we're printing something elif. If age is greater than 0, we're doing something else. All right, we can just be like, man, like, do we know any person? Right, we can be like alien alert. All right, because by this point, I mean, this should be scary if we're gonna be meeting somebody whose age is less than 0, because if it's not equals 0 and it's not greater than 0, then it has to be a negative number, and at this point it should be really scary for us, right? Because this might just be an alien that has a negative age. All right guys, so there we have it, a very simple program. If we go ahead and run this, and age equals 30, it prints, yo, how do you feel to be alive? Let's go ahead and make that a negative. Then we might be dealing with an alien at this point, because no one has a negative age. And if we're dealing with somebody of 0 age, then at this point we might be dealing with a youngster that's still in a womb and hasn't yet been born. But guys, this gives us a review of certain concepts. Jokes aside, and some of the things we're printing on the screen is just a refresher of if statements. If age equals 0, we can see results. So we've also seen elif, and we're checking for booleans. We've seen else condition. So in case we forgot this is a very powerful reminder of that, right? We can use if and else to condition or to control the flow, and that's why this particular module is talking about flow control. Very, very important topic in Python. Now the next piece, and we kind of saw this a little bit earlier, that we want to refresh here, and this is concept 713. So this is module 7, lecture 1. Concept number 3 that we're looking at is going to talk about break statements within a Python. So let's go back and write a quick loop and see how we can break out of that loop if we don't want to. So let's just do while age. We're gonna deal with age here is greater than 1. All right, so but of course, since I'm writing code, I can go slowly and put my colon in there. All right, so let's go ahead and just simply print age. Now we have age printed, but what if age equals to 21? All right, let's do something, and this is really for the US, where you can drink until you're 21. I believe that's still true. So depending on when you're watching this, it might be true or it might not be. So let's say legal age starts year. All right, okay, and then we go ahead and break. All right, so let's go ahead and break out of that. I'm gonna write this and then I'm gonna explain. And then once we break out of that, let's set age equals to subtract 1 from age and keep doing it again. All right, so guys, let's just take a look at what we've done here. And the whole idea here is we're trying to see how the break statement works. So we set a simple variable, age equals 30. So while age is greater than 1, so we're starting at age 30. If it's 30 greater than 1, then we go ahead and we print age, and then we check if it's age equals to 21. Nope, 30 is not equals to 21, so we subtract 1 from age. So now we go at 29, so we print 29. Is 29 equals 21? Nope, so we just keep going until we eventually reach age 21. Is 21 equals to 21? Yes. So now we're coming here and we're gonna print legal age starts here, and then at the end of once we print that, we break. So the loop is not gonna continue, it just breaks and the program stops. So if we run this, we expect to see 30 to 31 and to 21, and then the code stops. All right, so this is how we can use conditioners to control the flow. So 30, 29, 28, 27, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, and then it gets into that condition. It checks, is it 21? Yes. It goes there, it prints this line, and then that function stops. So very, very powerful. Break statements can be very handy once you're writing code and you kind of need to condition and stop your conditions, guys. Then just feel like throwing in a break in there, right? Sometimes people say, well, I'm working and I need a break from my office. No, guys, you don't really need a break from your office. You need to put a break into your code. That might be where the issue is coming from. So I hope this kind of helps, and it's a good segue into the next concept that we are going to look at. Is if we break, then we can always continue. And so this is going to talk about the continue statement. So let's just do the same thing that we did before with break, and write a simple code here with a while loop and say while 30 30, and I'm gonna replace that greater than 1. We want to go ahead and if age equals to 21, continue. All right, otherwise I'm gonna print age. Then we wanna go ahead and do age equals to, as a matter of fact, of course we have to go back here and replace this with age. So age starts at 30. Is 30 greater than 1? True. All right, if age, which is 30, equals to that, then nope, it's not that. We want to continue. So go ahead and run this. So you see the code prints all the way from 30, 29, and once it reaches 22 and it hits 21, and then we hit the continue. You might say, but the code stop. What's the difference between a continue and a break? It's because a continue can continue to execute other things within the code without necessarily breaking. So if you see here, there is no exit code. All right, even though it stopped, there's no exit code. If there was something after that, it's gonna keep executing that. But if I change this to a break, and this is where some people get confused, if I change it into a break, just watch what happens. It actually breaks the code, and you can see exit 0. So continue just says, all right, just continue executing whatever it is you're doing, all right, but don't stop the program. Whereas a break says, all right, we're gonna stop the program here and return with an exit code whatever it is we're doing. So it kind of seems like we're doing the same thing, but guys, just keep in mind, continue and break are two of different things. All right, continue, if you even notice, continues, my code here still has the square button, which means that the code hasn't stopped yet. All right, it's still running. If I had other things that I needed to do, it's gonna skip and do those other things. And unless I stop this before you can see the exit code equals to that. All right, guys, so continue is another thing that is available within Python to control flows. So if you're working within a flow like a loop, for loop, while loop, you can either break or you can continue. Now there's another concept which comes in very handy, which is going to be the try statement. So let's look at the try statement within Python. Try statement comes in very handy if we're trying to do something, we're not quite sure yet, we might have an issue that comes out of it, and then if that issue comes up, or if something happens that's kind of rare, it's an exception, then we want to make sure we call that out. So when we have try, we usually try something and then we expect that this might not go well, or we might have an exception, we might have some issues from there, and then we can kind of handle that. All right, that's really basically what try does for us within Python or programming in general. So that said, let's actually look at a very simple code. So let's say age equals to int. All right, because we're gonna take let's actually take the input first. We're gonna take an input from a user. We're gonna say please enter. Let me just write this smaller. Enter your age. All right, this seems like a very innocent code, but guys, you'll be asking what can go wrong, right? What can go wrong with a code like this? That just simply takes age from the user and prints to the screen. So if I take the age and I print to the screen, you might say, Fru, this is so trivial, why are you showing this in the try catch statement? What can go wrong? All right, guys, a lot of things can go wrong. For one, if I have to rerun this code and I print something like this, Fru in the name, all right, it takes Fru and it prints it on the screen, but Fru is not an age. All right, let's just say we wanted to take age plus 1 as an example to tell me what my birthday would be. If I run this, guys, and I say my age is 30, all right, you see we start having problems because now I'm expecting strings and I'm not getting strings, and a whole lot of issues can be happening. But you might say, easy problem, let's solve that, let's just make this to be an int. All right, and that's fine, right? We can convert that in whatever we get as an input into an int, and so that will allow us to add. If I go in here and I say 30, and it's gonna print 31 for me, so my next birthday would be turning 31. All right, well, that all looks good unless you realize that if I run this now and asking for my age, because somebody can type whatever they want in this input, if I go ahead and type through, what happens now? We have an issue of we're expecting a number in here, but this is giving us a string. We're getting a string which is Fru. We cannot cast it to an int. There's no way to take a full string like Fru and change it to an int, and so our program is failing. And the way we handle situations like this, whether getting input from the user, we want to try and see if that input is correct, or reading from a file or web services, is very important to leverage the concept of try statement. So try allows us to try something. If it doesn't work, then we give up. We say, no, I tried, it didn't work, and now I'm giving up totally. It's okay to give up sometimes, guys. I know a lot of people say, don't try, and never give up, guys. If you try something, it doesn't work, give up. And that's what programming tells us. So let's go ahead and try. So to try something, you simply just use a try statement, put that all in the block. Whatever you're putting in the block there is going to try that. Now if there are exceptions, then we can go ahead and capture those exceptions as VE. All right, and then what I'll do here is I'm simply gonna print something on the screen and says please be serious, right? Because once you give things to users, they like to be silly with it. So let's just remind them to be serious. We need numbers, not names. All right, okay, so we gotta remind our users sometimes that we need numbers, not names. So this code should work. All right, and even if a user gives me something that is not and what I expect, it's not an integer, instead of just failing and giving me red messages on the screen because I've put it within a try statement, it's gonna try that thing, and if it doesn't work, then it says, whoa, I saw an error and this is a value error that I'm expecting, it's not what I expect. Then it's gonna safely print this message for me on the screen. So let's go ahead and run this and see. Of course, if we do 30, works fine. But if I run this again now, watch what happens. If I write in Fru, it says it doesn't give me the red error, it doesn't scream, it doesn't like throw all over the place. Now it goes ahead and says, please be serious, we need numbers, not names. All right, and so once you start using try statements within your code, guys, it makes it a lot more safer, it makes it a lot more foolproof. So if somebody wants to goof around within your code, it's not just gonna break and complain, right? If you ask for numbers and the user is giving you strings, guys, your code, no matter what your user gives it to you, you can go ahead and write whatever it is you want. It's not gonna even bother, it's gonna just say, hey, be serious, this is not what I expect, do something else, right? So this is try, and then this is the exception to handle whatever issues come out of this try. All right, so if you're doing something, you're expecting that some issues will happen, especially when you're dealing with users, with human beings, you always want to think about, okay, can I try this first, and if it doesn't work, what exceptions do I expect, and then you want to handle those exceptions. All right, guys, so there you have it. The next one, of course, if you can try sometimes, is to go ahead and just decide that you want to do what you do when your friends invite you on a Friday night and you don't want to go out, is to pass. So you want to say, nope, Fru, do you want to hang out with us on Friday night? I pass because I'm recording some videos for YouTube. So let's go ahead and see how we can pass a couple of statements. Now the first thing that we're going to do is simply to let me just print something here quickly on the screen and say like testing pass. So just not very creative, but let's just print that on the screen. So that'll be testing pass. And then what we're gonna do is to say for current value in, and I'm gonna put it in a string here. Let's just say Coach Fru Louis on YouTube and Thrilly, www.thrilly.com. I just thought I had to plug in Thrilly there, for example. So guys, check out the website Thrilly. Now, so for that, let's just go ahead and pass. We're not really gonna do anything, so we're simply gonna go ahead and pass, do nothing. All right, and then let's just finish this with actually let's do this. Instead of just passing, let's actually give a quick check if current value equals to Fru. Let's use lowercase. All right, let's pass. Right, if it's Fru, let's pass. Otherwise, let's print. Just bear with me, so while typing, my actual name begins here. All right, let's do something like that, and then of course we're gonna end this statement. All right, and then also wanna print current value. All right, so guys, there you go. So very simple function. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start printing testing pass. All right, I can actually go ahead and make this into a next line. so that then we can start from the next line and says, all right, for every value that we have, so it's going to tokenize this by the spaces, and it's going to give me every single token as a value. So the first one will be coach, Fru Louis on, so it's tokenizing basically by the spaces, and it's gonna check it's what I have currently. Is that Fru? Now if it's not that, then it's going to let me take out that just for the sake of it. Of course, maybe I shouldn't really take out that. I should actually write the correct syntax that's expected. All right, again, write the correct syntax as expected, guys. Just bear with me. I deal with so many programming languages, sometimes the syntax kind of falls out of place for me. So all right, so there you have it. All right, so it prints coach Fru Louis, but because my check is not working, so let me actually just check. It's going through character by character, and now I think it should work very well. All right, so what it does is tells me my actual name begins here, so it's kind of going through C O C blah blah. When it reaches F and it says its current value equals to F, yeah, that's equals to F, then it passes it. Well, I can decide to not do anything, and then it goes ahead and prints my name begins here, and then it iterates through and print all my names below. So you can use pass if you really want to do nothing. All right, if I wanted to do nothing, I could just be like pass, and it's not gonna print anything. It's just gonna, I don't know why you want to do that, but it's gonna really not do anything. All right, guys, so but there you have it. There are a lot of statements like this that you can use within Python. Very very powerful. So guys, just to recap what we've seen, quite a bit of concepts here. If we switch back over to the particular module, we've seen for loops, we've seen while loops, and some of these might be refreshers for us. We've seen if statements, else and elif conditions, or we've also seen break statements, continue, try statements, and being able to use pass. All right, try and exceptions. Let me actually update this to say try except, because if you try something, you definitely want to try to get your exception to handle what happens if your try doesn't work, and then we can also pass statements. All right, guys, so there you have it. This brings us to the end of this particular module, module number 7, flow controls. Now this will take us into the next module, which will be module number 8, where we are going to be talking about object-oriented programming within Python. More specifically, we're going to be talking about classes, how to create classes, why create classes, and how to use them. So guys, stay tuned for that. This has been Fru, your lecturer for today. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, continue subscribing or consider subscribing for this channel. More videos like this will come. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next lecture.